Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
We need an answer by the end of day today. 10 words. And the moment you hear them, something shifts inside your chest. Your pulse increases, your focus narrows, and careful thinking stops. The clock starts. You probably haven't even asked the most important question yet. Is this deadline real? Most of the urgency you feel every day is fake, manufactured by somebody who benefits from you deciding fast instead of deciding well. Most people cannot tell a real deadline from a manufactured one. And by the end of this episode, you will. Let's get into it. Last episode, we talked about decision fatigue, how your brain degrades over a long day. Time pressure is different. Fatigue is a slow drain. Time pressure, it's like a switch. When that clock is ticking, your brain stops analyzing and you start reacting. Normally, the front of your brain runs the show. Careful analysis, weighing trade-offs, long-term thinking. Under time pressure, a faster, older, more emotional region of your brain takes over. You don't feel less accurate. You actually feel more confident. A 2025 study in psychology found that under time pressure, people's confidence in their decisions actually went up while their accuracy went down. You're not just thinking worse. You're thinking worse while being more sure that you're right. That false confidence makes you predictably worse at three specific things. One, evaluating the trade-offs. You lock onto whichever side your gut grabs first. Two, considering consequences beyond the immediate. Your second-order thinking goes offline. And three, recognizing what you do not know. Because you feel certain, you stop looking for what you're missing. And that's exactly what manufactured urgency is designed to exploit. This is mind-jacking in its purest form. Someone engineers the pressure, your brain switches modes, and you make decisions instead of yours. You're making what decision they want you to make by putting you under that time pressure. Now, not all time pressure is the same. Some deadlines are real. Your tax filing date is real. The board meeting on Thursday is real. The patient who needs a decision in the next 10 minutes, that's real. These deadlines exist because of actual constraints in the world, not because someone manufactured them. But a huge portion of the urgency you experience, it's engineered. Like, oh, this offer expires at midnight. Really? Will the company stop wanting your money tomorrow? Or we need your decision today. Well, why today? What actually changes between today and next Wednesday? Manufactured urgency is one of the most effective persuasion tools ever invented. Countdown timers on websites that will reset if you refresh the page. Limited time sales that somehow run every month. Negotiators who invent deadlines because pressure extracts concessions. Manufactured urgency is everywhere, and it works because of what we just covered. Time pressure flips you into fast decision mode. When someone engineers urgency, they're not just rushing you, they're changing which part of your mind makes the call. The decisions that actually shape your career almost never show up with a countdown timer. That urgency trap pulls your attention to whatever is loudest, while the ones that matter sit quietly in the background until it's too late. So how do you tell the difference? I use 5 tests. Test number one, the source test. Ask yourself, who benefits from me deciding quickly? If the answer is the person creating the deadline, that is a huge red flag. Real deadlines serve the situation. Fake deadlines serve the person imposing them. The car salesman who says, this price is only good for today, that deadline serves the dealership and the salesperson, not you. The surgeon who says, we need to operate within the hour, that deadline serves the patient. Test number two, the consequence test. Ask, what actually happens if I wait? Not what I'm told will happen, but what will actually happen. The offer expires. Does it? And what would happen if you called back next week? In most cases, that offer magically reappears. Real deadlines have real, verifiable consequences. Manufactured ones have threats that evaporate on contact. Test number three, the history test. Has this urgent situation happened before? If the company has run ending soon promotions every month for a year, that is not urgency. That's a business model. If a colleague marks everything, every email they send you is marked urgent, that's not urgency. That's a habit. Test number four, the reversibility test. This one builds on earlier work in the series. How reversible is this decision? If you can cancel, return, or renegotiate, urgency matters less. But if the decision is hard to reverse, it's like a long-term contract or a major hire. Artificial urgency is especially dangerous. The less reversible the decision, the more suspicious you should be of anyone rushing you. Test number five, the separation test. Remove yourself from the pressure source and check if the urgency survives. Step out of the room. Sleep on it. Call back tomorrow. Real urgency persists when you leave. Manufactured urgency dissolves or waits for you. You don't need all five to spot fake urgency. 2 or 3 is usually enough. And once you start applying these tests, something fundamentally shifts. You realize how much of the urgency in your life was never yours to begin with. I've watched this happen with more than one friend. I've had a couple of friends recently who got cancer diagnoses within the last 3 years or so. And doctor gave them a timeline. You are stage 4 and you only have so many years to live. And in every case, the same thing happened. Not panic, but clarity. Every manufactured urgency in their lives just fell away. The stuff that didn't matter stopped getting their attention. The stuff that did got all of their attention. They're all well past the timelines that their doctors gave them. They survived past the date, and the outlook is good. But the clarity that they got from being in that true sense of urgency never went away. They didn't need 5 tests. They already know which pressure is real and which is not real. Most of us do not get that kind of forced clarity on urgency. So we need tools to create it for ourselves. So now everything I've just said could become very sophisticated excuse to never decide anything. Oh, I need more time to think about it is sometimes wisdom, and sometimes it's avoidance wearing wisdom's clothes. They feel identical from the inside, and that's what makes this so difficult. Recognizing avoidance in yourself is one of the hardest skills in this entire series. We spent all of episode 10 on it because there's no quick trick for telling the two apart. If you haven't watched that one, go back. I'd recommend you listen to it. For this episode, the key connection is this: manufactured urgency and avoidance are opposite problems that feed each other. The more you've been burned by fake deadlines, the more justified I need more time feels like. And the more you default to delay, the more vulnerable you become when real urgency hits. But watch for this. If you're using the 5 tests to justify delay rather than evaluate urgency, that avoidance borrowing the language of skepticism. The tests are meant to help you evaluate the deadline, not give you another reason to avoid the decision. So, how do you calibrate between moving too fast and waiting too long? Jeff Bezos talks about the one-way and two-way door decisions. I've expanded that into what I call stakes and reversibility grid. 2 questions. How much does this matter? And how hard is it to undo? So think of it as a 2x2 grid. How much does this matter? Is it important? Not important. How hard is it to undo? Easy to undo, hard to undo. So let's take a stab at this. So low stakes, easy to reverse, such as which project management tool to try, where to hold the offsite, what to order for lunch. Decide that immediately. Don't let it drag you down. These are the decisions people waste hours on that deserve minutes. Now, what about high stakes, easy to reverse, such as a new marketing campaign, a pilot program, a hire with a 90-day probation period? Decide quickly, but build in a review date, let's say 2 weeks from now. You can course correct, so speed matters more than perfection. What about low stakes, hard to reverse, such as that subscription you can never find and cancel, that small clause in a contract nobody ever reads? These are sneaky. They don't feel important, so you rush the decision, but they're hard to undo, so they start to accumulate. So think about spending maybe a little bit more time. What about high stakes, hard to reverse? A merger, a long-term contract, shutting down a product line. This is where you really slow down. This is where you deploy every test for manufactured urgency. This is where anyone rushing you should make you suspicious. Most people get these backwards. They spend weeks picking a laptop and 15 minutes reviewing an employment contract. This grid fixes that. Be fast on what doesn't matter so you have the bandwidth to be slow on what does. So, let me give you a little story. Early in my career, I watched all this play out in just a single conversation. I was negotiating a major technology partnership. The other side's lead negotiator dropped this line: "We need a signed term sheet by Friday, or we're moving to the next candidate." Friday was 2 days away. Now I felt that shift, that tightening, the stress, that narrowing of focus. My brain immediately started racing towards, so how do we make this work by Friday? Not, should we? Now, what are these the right terms? Just speed. Then I caught it. I did the source test. Who benefits from the Friday deadline? Oh, they did. We were their preferred partner, and they knew it, and we knew it. And we checked the consequence test. What actually happens if we miss Friday? They go to the backup. They've already passed over once. So I said, now, we're serious about this partnership, but we want to get the terms right. We will have our response by next Wednesday. And I sat back and I waited. Their response? Okay. The deadline was never real. That's what this skill gives you. Not the ability to stall, not the excuse to avoid commitment. The judgment to know which pressure deserves your speed and which deserves your skepticism. So next time you feel that tightening in your chest, that rush to decide, run 2 tests before you respond. I would suggest the source test. Who's benefiting from this decision? And then the consequent test. What actually happens if I wait? You don't need all 5 every time. These 2 alone will catch most of the manufactured urgency before it catches you. That's not indecisiveness. That's intelligence. Now, in episode 10, we tackled uncertainty. In episode 11, depletion. Now you can spot manufactured urgency. But there's a pressure harder to resist than any deadline. That is a room full of people who've already made up their minds, and they all disagree with you. The CEO's in agreement, the team is in agreement, everybody's in agreement, and you're sitting there thinking they are wrong. What do you do with that? That's what we're going to cover in the next episode. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Now you've got the source test and the consequence test. Use them this week. And then drop a comment. Tell me what was the obvious manufacturer deadline that you've ever seen in your career. I want to hear these. I read all of the comments you post on Substack and on YouTube. Now, if mindjacking and the concept of mindjacking is new to you, I have a full episode that breaks down how your thinking gets hijacked. Sometimes by outside forces, and even sometimes by yourself. Links are below. For those who want to support the work and the team behind these episodes, you can become a paid subscriber on Substack. I take none of the money. All the money just goes to cover the contribution that the people behind the scenes make in order to produce this content. That link is below also. And share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. We all know somebody who either rushes every decision or who can never pull the trigger. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.